no idea which way the other camera's pointed. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see everyone tonight. We'll probably have some people join us. It's interesting, the numbers on the Facebook Live. It's a lot like our church service, where we have any place from 10 to 30 views on Sunday morning, but through the week, people share it. Like, George will share it to his page, and we'll share it to the Strong and Steadfast page. Anybody can go on. It's on my page right now, and just hit that share button, put it on your own page, and that way other people can watch, what's happening in the meeting here. So we've got a little bit of a smaller crowd tonight so far. I'm sure some others will join us as we go. Each Wednesday, I give a devotion for our hospice group, hospice company. And Wednesday is my day, and they're so excited because I get to say Happy Hump Day, and some people seem to like that kind of thing. But today my devotion was about transitions. And I started out talking about a movie that I watched recently called Star Trek Generations. And it was number seven in the series. And the first 6 were all the original Star Trek people. You're probably familiar with this. I don't have to tell you the whole thing, but Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and Scotty and that whole crew. In number 7, they just had a few of the originals, and then it transitioned to be Star Trek Next Generation, Captain Picard and Data and Geordi and such. And I found it interesting the way that they did that transition. In hospice, I see a lot of families going through transition. And of course, transition is a word that's used of somebody that their life is ebbing away. If you say they're in transition, you know what that means. But what the families go through, and even the individuals, my brother-in-law in Indiana that I've talked about, when he found out that he had Parkinson's, or at least everybody was suspecting it because, these things take a while to diagnose, and some are easier than others or harder than others, it seems. But he almost immediately was put on a different job, wasn't able to drive a tow motor, wasn't able to run the loading dock, and now he was put into something that, it wasn't as affected by his health. That type of transition is difficult for people, isn't it? Some people never get to go back to work, but they've been working all through. And George, I think that was your experience. And George fought that for a while in his mind. And, George, seeing the way God has taken care of you and your family has been a wonderful thing to behold. Great testimony. And I guess that's our faith side of things, is that as our lives change, and they're going to change, as we get older, maybe we don't run the marathon as often, or not able to do the physical work and labor. I went over to help a friend this week, and we put up a new sign on his shed. We nailed up 3 boards, and then we used the chainsaw for 20 minutes. Oh boy, let's go to lunch, Back in high school, when we both played football, it was a lot different story, but, we're not high school age anymore. So, as we go through the transitions, so much of it is depending on God. And hopefully we have loving family around us, because that makes a huge difference as well for so many. And just having the opportunity to see God at work. Well, let's pray, and then George, I think you're going to have some things to share. We're happy to have Lucy back with us as well. So, Father, I thank you for this evening and for the fellowship that we share with you and with one another. Thank you for blessing us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I wanted to start with a joke that I heard. Actually,
I don't tell too many jokes. So hopefully everybody gets it, but Rainbow committed a crime. And it went to court, and when the Rainbow washed out, the clown said, "What did you get?" And the Rainbow said, "A life sentence." Get it? Life.
George, that was a very colorful joke. Thank you.
So I wanted to kind of break the ice because even though, and I want to thank everybody that's on Facebook Live and here for reaching out to check on me. I was telling Leroy and Pastor Matt have known me for years. Like he said, I fought going back to work. Didn't want to listen to the doctors, what was going on with me with my Parkinson's. But if he knows me the way he knows, when the weather changes, it affects my arthritis. And I do have like 65% arthritis throughout my body, which astipates the Parkinson's, and my pain level goes from probably maybe a 1, 2 to probably about 4 or 5. So the last week and a half, I have not been feeling myself. In saying that, we're honored to have Lucy here. I don't know, a lot of people know, but the 15th of this month was open enrollment for Medicare. And I felt it was appropriate to bring her back with so many questions and the time it took to get the other meeting set up. So first I want to say thank you, Lucy, for coming all the way from Williamsburg. With this big crowd that we have tonight.
Well, we went for quality instead of quantity.
That is true. That is true. But the next voice you hear after mine will be Lucy, and she's going to be again going over open enrollment, some good and some bad. I'm actually thinking about switching my plan. I'll probably get in with her later in the week, and I actually don't look so bad. But Lucy, come on up, and thank you for coming. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna go with that one time.
Well, it's good to be here, see everyone. And did you ever get your Medicare card?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really?
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be 65 next month. Shouldn't they have already sent me that card?
No, it doesn't happen automatically.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it happens automatically. Those individuals that have been declared disabled,
Mm-hmm.
they're put on disability for 24 months, and on the 25th month, they automatically get their Medicare card. But if that's not your case, you have to request your Medicare card.
Really?
You haven't done that?
No, because they sent something in the mail saying that I would automatic, because I'm getting Social Security, that I would automatic.
Okay, so that's the other reason someone will get it automatically if they're already drawing their Social Security check. They already have that in the system,
Mm-hmm.
and they will send it out. But sometimes things fall through the cracks,
Okay.
and it's not a bad idea to call them.
Okay.
But you don't turn 65 until next month, right?
November 4th.
November. So we're into the second week in October. I think I would call.
Okay.
Yeah. So I, Sunday, the 15th was the first day of open enrollment. I don't know that any agents was out there on Sunday trying to write business. I don't normally work on Sundays. But it's a 7-week long enrollment period. So it ends December 7th. And so I always tell everybody, don't wait until the last week in the open enrollment, because it's just so stressful, so hectic. And so I've been doing, or started doing, Medicare events in Hampton, in Newport News, and Will in Williamsburg. So my meetings are at the YMCA in Hampton. I'm doing 4 meetings. And then I'm doing 4 meetings at the YMCA in Newport News. I was there today. But I'm also doing meetings specifically for military retirees. So I brought a flyer. These are the meetings that I'm gonna be having in Newport News on the 24th of October, and then November 14th, also Jefferson Avenue. I guess I ran out of my flyers for the one in Hampton. I am having some in Hampton as well, but I don't have a flyer for it. And you're welcome to come. If you're interested in finding out about the military plans that we touched on, they are different than regular Medicare plans. The big difference in these plans is that you will start paying for your Medicare Part B, which is $164.90. How many of you know that that's going up January 1st?
You know that too, how much?
Okay, it's not gonna be drastic. It's gonna be a little bit less than $10. So instead of $164, it'll be $174 and some change.
You know, they did not tell me that when they signed me up for Social Security. I had to find out the hard way. They did not tell me.
They didn't tell you that you have to pay for Part B?
Mhm. And I have a girlfriend who they didn't tell her that that she had to take tax, but she had the option of taking taxes out or not. But you know, this was a time when a lot of them were working from home, and I just feel like they weren't sharing the information that they should have been.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, like, if someone is still working and they're getting health insurance coverage already, you don't have to sign up for your Medicare Part B. You can hold paying that if you have full coverage, you know.
And you have your prescription drug is qualified,
Yes, yes.
and it's not always qualified.
Yeah, well, if someone is working, you know, the employer is offering coverage, it's pretty much is qualified. Most of the time, yeah. Like I worked for Verizon.
Yeah,
And-
bigger company.
Yes, yeah, now the smaller employers that,
We work as a tax accountant for a small
That-
employer, he knows.
yeah, you really have to check that out. Because and the employer is the employer's responsibility to let that person know, you may wanna get a Medicare plan because our plan is not creditable. But if the employer doesn't tell, then you gotta ask the questions, you know? Yes.
So how would one go about finding out if they're exempt, is supposed to go to 172 to be exempt from paying that monthly premium? Because I don't have a monthly premium.
Okay, so some people do not have to pay for that Medicare Part B if they are enrolled in a Medicaid program. Medicaid pays that. Other than that, everyone has to pay it. Yeah. And for individuals whose income is higher than a certain amount, they're paying more for that Part B. If their income is higher.
Yeah, it's something
Irma.
starting about 250.
Well, some people if they're getting $85,000 of income, that's going to increase their Medicare Part B. Mhm. Um, so, any other questions?
I kind of feel, because I'm not gonna, everybody's not here in the group, but I do know there's some in the group that are struggling financially. And should they go back and have their plan relooked at based off their income today?
Every year, really, you should look at your plan to see if there are changes that need to be made. For those that have lower income, it's good to check to see if maybe you might qualify for Medicaid, and I do that. I help people file for Medicaid. And once they file, then I can put them in a plan that everything will be covered for them. But a lot of people don't know that there are resources out there, you know, that they can file or apply. And by the same token, Medicaid is not a guaranteed benefit. You have to reapply for that. But Medicaid, they're good about sending letters out, letting them know your Medicaid is going to expire on such and such a date. You need to reapply, and we need to get your information in our office by a certain date. And they're not kidding when they tell you, we have to get your new application. If they don't get it immediately, they cut it off. And so then you have to reapply again. So,
Yeah, we have a friend in Norfolk that just went through that.
mm-hmm.
Somebody apparently told her that they would file for her, but they said that they just told her they had the forms. And so she didn't file, and it's created a mess.
Oh, yeah.
I have a silly question. My case manager, and I got a letter, and you don't believe everything you read, but the letter said I've been approved for my Medicaid impermanently. Now, when I called them, they verified that. So they said, George, you will get an enrollment. You have to, but don't reapply. It's already set in our systems. So I called and double checked and crossed the T's and dotted the I's, which it can be confusing. And that's why when you called, I was like, Lucy, what are you doing Wednesday? I think the group and wish hopefully some still come in, but these are some of the questions that, like I said, I'm actually thinking about looking for a new plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know that when I help different individuals to apply or reapply, they always ask how long, like when, because reapplying is different for different people. It just depends how it was originally set up. And so I always tell them, just write it for the maximum 5 years. So for 5 years, that person doesn't have to be bothered by reapplying.
Okay.
So for 5 years, most of the clients that I have helped, they don't have to worry about that.
Okay. See, I did not know that.
So some
maybe-
people may have to reapply every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, depending on how it was set up. All of my clients, 5 years.
I didn't know. See, I learned something.
Yeah.
Maybe I found my bad. Because all my stuff was set up through my attorney. So my attorney actually handled everything. The Medicare, the Medicaid, everything. So my attorney did set up. I didn't have to really do anything.
Mm-hmm. Is he a POA? He has power of attorney?
I gave my attorney my attorney's not in Virginia. And when I was filing for my disability, there's a disability all they do is disability. It's not one of these law firms that do disability, car crashes and falls and this, all they concentrate on is disability.
Right.
I didn't even know they was doing the Medicare and Medicaid until they was like, hey, George, you're approved, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out the judge went back a year, so instead of having to wait that 24 months, I only had to wait 11 months the way they filed. So and I still have their phone number, and I call them on holidays and all this day. But make a long story short,
We're a popular crowd tonight.
I did give them power of attorney. They was actually taking care of me and setting everything up.
So I wonder, because the power of attorney, they can do things for you, and I wonder if they,
Yes, they took.
I turned mine off.
Children.
So I wonder if he would be reapplying for you for Medicaid, you know?
That's something I was actually gonna call them, because even though everything's been filed, I can call them and ask them any question whatsoever.
Yeah.
They took care of, even when my dependents wasn't 18 yet, they set them up for their partial check. So I always say, I mean, you know, a lot of my family was like, George, file it yourself, do it yourself. I just figured because there was no money down, I was just like, if I win, I win, if I don't, I don't, and I won, and it benefited me considerably.
Yeah. Well, your situation is different.
Actually, that's how I met Greg. That's actually how I met Greg. Because I get this phone call, it was like, hey, you popped up on my computer. And I'm like, I did? So I didn't even know.
Yeah. Well, so it's a good idea to every year check on the plans, specifically for Medicare and Medicaid beneficiaries. All plans are not equal.
True.
Okay, and so I can tell you that with United Healthcare, they offer the most benefits, the most. And I used to represent all the companies some time back, and then I just decided to just stay with United Healthcare. Even when I was representing them, I was mostly writing for United Healthcare, and then I completely stopped because I was told that I wasn't supposed to be selling the other plans because I am captive to United Healthcare. But I didn't know about that. But when they told me you're not supposed to, then I stopped. But even when I had a contract with all of them, I was mainly just writing for United Healthcare because of their high copays for all the insurance companies. And it just made more sense for me. If it's not something that I would want for me, then I'm not gonna bring it to my clients, because my clients are my clients and I have to look out for their best interest. And that's how I operate my business. Yeah. And so with Medicaid and, you know, like with your congregation, when I'm invited, I set up a table, and then I can help anyone that may qualify for Medicaid, but they don't know how to do it. I do that for them. Yeah. But anyway, if I'm gonna pass this out, if you're interested, or if you're not interested, but you may know other military retirees, 20 years or more. I will be at Panera Bread. And you
Treating
can,
us to lunch?
well, that is an interesting question, and I had a lady ask me that today, that she RSVP to one of my events in Panera Bread in Hampton. And she said, so are we gonna eat a meal? And I said, no ma'am, Medicare prohibits us from serving a meal. But what I can do is I can serve snacks, a refreshment, I will be doing that, coffee, tea, and a pastry. Because the guideline is it cannot be more than $15 per person. Also, I cannot have a variety of things that could be construed as a meal.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Medicare, yeah. And so all of these companies have a contract with the federal government, which is CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. They set the rules, and all the insurance companies have to abide by that. But yes, come and have a cup of coffee or tea.
Yeah, I'll take a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, they're very strict. Anyone? Oh, you're good. That's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when we sit down to talk to someone about the Medicare plans, when I first started 13 and a half years ago, there's a document that everyone has to sign before we can actually talk to them. And it's a scope of appointment that lets Medicare know that the person gave me permission to talk to them. They don't like these telemarketing companies, calling and doing things that are not compliant. And so last year, they said they're gonna do away with the ruling that they had, that we had to have that scope of appointment signed 48 hours before we sat down with them. So you had to mail the scope of appointment to the person. They had to sign it and date it, and then they had to mail it back to us. That was a lot of time wasted, and we were all happy last year when they said for 2023, we don't need the scope of appointment. You can do the scope of appointment at the time that we meet. So we're all happy, and guess what? Medicare went back to the same ruling, 48 hours in advance. Except when I do meetings. When I do meetings like this in person, I don't have to have that. If someone is interested, I can help them with their insurance.
So you can have walk-ins, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Someone could
Yeah.
just walk in, didn't have to have an appointment.
Yeah, these events that I am doing, they've been advertised. But how many people are still reading the newspaper? And but enough have, because I have gotten RSVPs to both, to all three of them actually. Yeah. But
I'll be more than glad to put it on our Facebook page.
oh, that would be wonderful.
Really.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm actually going to be doing some legwork and going to certain places and just post them, because I mailed out 2 weeks ago. I mailed out 100 of these, because I have a list of the military retirees, and I mailed out 100. Not one person has called me. That's a lot of work, and folding and putting a stamp and
Yeah.
licking those envelopes. And I was expecting at least 10 people. Not one person has called me.
What dates will you be in Hampton? Because you said you don't have a flyer for Hampton.
Yes, I'm gonna get my phone and I can start that. Okay. because I had turned the phone.
Yeah, it's all right.
So much mail and, we need so much stuff in the mail.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's not worth anything, and if it's worth something, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be pages.
So I'm an agent, and I already have a retiree plan from Verizon. I get the same junk mail that you guys get. They're trying to recruit me. They're trying to sell me a plan.
Yeah.
I get the phone calls, the same phone calls that you get, I get them, but I don't answer 800 numbers. I never do. And that's what I tell my clients. If you don't recognize the number, then don't answer.
Right.
Don't.
Yeah.
So, let's see. No.
So, I'm trying to-
Okay, so the 24th, but that one is totally booked.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I understand.
The 24th is full to capacity. So the next one is gonna be October 31st in Hampton.
Okay. Are all these 10 to 12?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 to 12.
And that's at Panera Bread.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's it for October.
It's still the one in, Newport News, or it's gonna be the Panera in Hampton?
Here in
Okay.
Hampton, and you know, you probably know, because you're from here, but, whenever sometimes I would meet people at Panera Bread, in Coliseum Drive, and so, or if I have some time to waste before my next appointment, I would go there to work at Panera Bread. So, about 4 months ago, I went, and to my surprise, it was closed. I said, "Oh my gosh, Panera Bread closed. Oh, that's sad."
Yeah,
and I'm
they
feeling
moved
bad.
across the street.
Yeah, I'm feeling bad for them and all this, only to find, and we had already advertised this, and I said, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?" I called the supervisor. What am I gonna do now that they closed? And so she said, "Well, find a new place." And a week later, I found out that they had moved across the street.
Yeah,
But it's too
freestanding
late for me
building.
because that already went out with the old address, you know, so then I had to call, okay, the new one. Okay, let's see here. So I told you the 28th, right?
You told me the 31st.
Oh, okay, so November 28th. That is,
And that's Hampton too?
Hampton, yes. 2115 Coliseum Drive.
Okay. And you said open enrollment is from 10:15 until.
10:15 to December 7th.
Okay. Another famous day.
Yes.
Okay.
And so my number is there, and
Uh-huh.
they can call me so I can keep track of you know, the people that are attending. They can call me and RSVP.
Mhm.
But everyone here is military, right? No? You're not? Oh, okay. But you have I talked to you the last time, and you said something about your doctor is not in the network or something like that, or you have your, yeah, I remember. I may not remember the name, but I do remember that I talked to you and I talked to you. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of information that's available. It's just that people don't know. And they don't know until somebody tells them, you know. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I think I'm done.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm good. I figure If I fall, I can stay there for a little while and rest, take a nap. No, I'm kidding.
We'll get it on camera, maybe you'll win
Yeah.
$10,000, you know?
I was hoping for a bigger group, because one of the things that we set up and advertised, Naomi wanted us to start after a lot of y'all left. She set up what we're calling now the gathering. What the gathering is where the wives can actually jump up, down, and run out the room, and we set up a nice show with Gail, where the wives can actually get out and have their own conversation amongst the wives or spouses or care partners or caregivers. Now, one of the things I noticed on the website is kind of small and was not advertised away, so I'm actually working on a flyer to put it out there that any caregiver, any spouse, anybody is welcome to the we're calling the gathering. And if you ladies want to go or stay, it's totally up to y'all. Get away from us for a little while. It's a very, I actually set y'all up in a really beautiful place. Gail, I showed from where it is. You can have coffee, you can have tea, you can have.
I mean, that's easy, but then I'll be up half the night.
But it's a nice little area. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, and I'm glad Miss Sharon is here, but it's just a way for the ladies actually to get over. One of the things that we talked about was the care partners and spouses, what they actually feel and go through. I mean, one of the things like I said in the last meeting was looking around is I see love. These two are totally in love. Leroy, you and your gorgeous wife are just, you see the love that she has for you. I think she just really wants to jump that table. That chair just kind of like, I want to see this. And Gail, I mean, I look at you and Dirk, and y'all still act like teenagers. But Dirk, I really think she wants to get the heck out away from you for 30 minutes. One of the things that I also want to say is, I want to say thank you to Dirk and Leroy, and if Joe's watching, to cancel the family picnic for Parkinson's. Joe must know me really good because immediately he reached out, and that's what the group is about, family. When he emailed me, and I'm not one, someone told me last night, George, if you don't ask for help, how do we know you need help?
Yeah.
And then Dirk texted me and was like, hey man, is everything okay? Just checking on you. And that put another big smile on my face. I don't see it just a Parkinson's support group here. I see family. I said that last month, and I'm going to continue to say it. So, if the ladies want to go, you're more than welcome. I don't think you guys. Still, the view is still the ladies. They're in beautiful area. Now, I gotta tell y'all area looks better than ours. And enjoy yourselves. And I want to talk to the guys a little bit. Me and Pastor Matt, we was discussing some stuff. I was hoping to